this point, we want to go ahead and create a new book. That is essentially going to be an HTTP post request. And we are going to go ahead and create that. Let's switch over to our controller. And let's go ahead and minimize this. And after this method, we are going to put in the HTTP post. This is going to be public. It's going to return an action result book. We're going to call this add book, and it's going to accept a book object. We need to check to do a little bit of validation. We're not going to do a whole lot of validation in this particular walkthrough, but we just want to check to see if it's null. If it's null, then we're going to return that. So we have our book here. If this book is null, then we want to return a bad request. If we don't have a bad request, if we have something that is not null, we have an object that was passed in, we're essentially going to add it to our books, and then we want to return, in this case, a created at. So this is going to be created at action, name of, this is the method, get book, that would be able to return that particular new book if we wanted to execute that. It's also going to have a parameter of new with an ID, and this is going to be equal to the new book's ID. So this would be book.id. And then we would also want to return the book as well. So that's going to be what we would return for a post. And if we go ahead and save this, it's going to look a little bit different when we run this and execute it. If we go back to our HTTP, when we are going to create this, instead of a get, now we need to specify that we are using a post. And this is going to be with our root URL. So this is our API URL. And then we have our API. And then we have books. We also need to specify the content type for what we're passing in. So in this case, this is going to be content type. And this is going to be application JSON. So a little bit different than what we have here with the accept. We have the content type. And then below this, this is going to be essentially the JSON object that we want to pass in. And in this case, let's go ahead and pass in something along the lines with an ID. And this is going to be 3, comma, title. And this is going to be 1984. The author is going to be George Orwell. And then we have our ISBN. Let's put this in quotes. And this is going to be 9781443434973, comma, and then the year published. And this is going to be 2014. So that's going to be our JSON object. We still have to put in our separation between the two methods. So putting in those 3 pound signs. And then let's make this consistent. So we're going to make that author and get rid of this space. So now we should have a post request that we can go ahead and send. And notice that it's giving us a 201, meaning that it created it. And if we would go ahead and get all of our books again, send that request, we should see that we now have a 3 at the end of that list. Now, if we stop our instance and then rerun it, of course, we don't have 3. We would have to go ahead and re-add 3 in order to maintain and persist that particular book entry. And when we get to the next video, that's when we're going to actually use files to do that persistence. But for right now, we're just going to try to get our methods all set up so that we can add a book, we can change a book, and we can delete a book. So now we're going to stop this. We're going to go back, and this time we want to go ahead and update. And when we do an update, this is going to be where we are going to use an HTTP put request. So this is going to be HTTP put, and we have to put this in square brackets. I'm going to get rid of this attribute here. And with this, we have to specify the ID of the element that we're updating. So this is going to be ID, similar to what we did with our get, but this is going to be the put. And then we are going to have a public. Instead of the action result, we are going to get back an I action result. And this is going to be update book. We're going to be passing in the ID as well as the book instance. I'm going to scroll down here. We need to be able to find the book. And we already have code that we've written to find the book in our method here. So I'm going to expand that. Essentially, all of this code is going to determine whether we have a book or not. And I can always go ahead and do a quick action and refactoring and extract the method. So if I click on that, I can then call this find book. And that's going to refactor everything so that I could go ahead and use that down here in my method without replicating all that code. So in this case, I would need to call this maybe B or existing book or something to see if I have that book, if it has the same values coming back. And let's call this updated book, and then we'll just call this other one book instead of using B. That's not a really good thing. So we have the updated book instance, and then we have the book. And if our book is null, then we have a problem. We need to go ahead and return the not found. Otherwise, we need to go ahead and do those updates. And essentially, we're not going to be updating the ID, but everything else. So we have the book.title is going to be equal to the updated book title. We have the book author, updated author, the book.isbn equal to the updated ISBN, the book.year published equal to the updated year published. And at that point, everything in our object should be updated, so we can go ahead and just return no content. Now, if we go ahead and go back to our books API, and I'm going to save this here, I'm going to scroll down a little bit. And in this case, we are going to be doing a put, and we're just going to go ahead and copy our request here. We'll have to execute it to create it before we can do anything with it. And let's change this to $signs here so that we have that delineation between the requests. This is going to be the put. And with our put, we also need to specify what particular ID that we're changing. In this case, we're going to be changing 3. And we want to go ahead and change maybe the ISBN to 88. And let's make this 04 or something. Just silly changes, but I think we'll be able to see what's going on then. So in this case, let's go ahead and let's change it up and rerun it. We should see that it's running now. We should be able to go ahead and hit our post to create that. Now, if we look to see all of our books, we should have 3 books out there. And if we go ahead then and do our put request, it's showing us the no content, that's fine. And then if we decide that we are going to change this to maybe 7, let's change it to 7 and try that, we should get the not found. So if we run this again, we are getting the 404 not found. So that is our put request. And we have only one more request that we need to do, and that's going to be our delete request. So let's go ahead and go back to our controller. to add that last request. And when we do this, we are essentially doing an HTTP delete. And this is going to require an ID that gets passed in for what is going to be deleted. Our method is going to return an iAction result as well. This is going to be delete, and then we're passing in our integer ID value. We then need to go ahead and check to see if we have the book. And if we don't, we need to return this. So I'm going to copy this right here, paste it down here because that's going to be the same type of logic. And then once we have the book, then we need to remove it. So this is going to be books.remove, and we just specify the book that we want to remove from that list, and then we can return the no content as well. So that is going to be our delete. So if we go back to our request here, and I'm going to go ahead and scroll down just a little bit here, we want to send our request. We need to put in our hash here. I'm going to copy that down below, and I'm going to copy this. In our case, this is going to be a delete. We have our API URL. This is going to be with our API, and then books, the controller method, and then our value that we want to delete. So we can go ahead and do this. We need to rerun this again to pick up those changes that we just made to the code. So if we relaunch it, now it's listening, so we can go ahead and, okay, so now if we run it, get the books, we have 2, do the post, add 1. Now we should be able to get all the books. We should have 3. Then if we decide that we want to remove it, then we have our no content, but if we run our get the books again, now it's showing us that we have 2. Now if we would go ahead and decide to rerun this again for whatever reason, notice we are getting that 404 not found. So in the next video, we are going to look at trying to persist our data between our execution times so that if we shut it down and restart it up, it's going to restart with the same data, and we're going to do that by using files to do that.